This video is going to be a lesson in XJW psychology. I'm going to break down why the XJW community is so toxic and why we shouldn't call XJW friends just because they're XJWs as we are. So I'm not saying that you cannot find good friends in the XJW community. But what I'm saying is that we don't want to call everybody a friend just because they're an XJW like we are. But what I really want to break down in this video is why the XJW community has been so toxic and how we can avoid that and what goes on in the mind of certain XJWs, why they become so toxic or why they stay toxic after they leave this organization. So the reason that I want to do this video is because it's not often that you get a real life opportunity to break down the psychology of what goes on in the XJW's mind that is jealous, that is envious, and that is starting trouble and drama while trying to pretend they're not starting trouble and drama. And I want to break down and use this example of why we should not call XJW friends just because they're XJWs as we are. Because the reality is that a lot of XJWs are snakes. And I'm not being judgmental when I say that. Let me explain what I mean by that. So when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, how many snakes were in the congregation? Right? From publishers all the way up to congregation elders, right? We all dealt with even elders who are snakes. So what I'm trying to say is that if we know that that the Jehovah's Witness religion has a lot of backstabbing snakes in it, then why would we think that just because people leave the organization that we're all going to be best friends? Some of those same snaky people are XJWs, right? So we have to be careful. And why I think it's very triggering when we call XJWs friends. Oh, they're the friends. No, that's Jehovah's Witness programming. That's MK Ultra level brainwashing. Friends is very triggered. But anyway, I don't want to sidetrack too much. But I'm going to use an example to really show you the psychology and what goes on in a person's mind when they're basically jealous and envious of other people and they want to see other people suffer, which is why I'm saying you have to be careful when calling XJWs friends, when the reality is it's no different from the snakes that we dealt with when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. The only difference is they left just like we left. So, right from the start, I just want to say that the person's example that I'm using, I do respect this person. And this person has actually, I would say, given me some of the best tips that I have on my channel. She's given me a lot of good tips over the years. But what I'm going to break down, I'm going to do it respectfully, but she basically asked for it. And she had an opportunity to back out, but she asked for it. And now I feel an obligation to use this experience to break down the psychology of toxic XJWs. So let me explain to you how this started. So just for the record, that it was my idea to have Ruby Quinn on my channel. I personally wanted to interview her and ask her questions because I think that her take on a whole friendship thing is actually very smart. And I agree with it. And I wanted to know more about like how she feels about issues. So I just want to make it clear that Ruby didn't come and ask to be in my channel because she wanted to speak and and try to give lessons to anybody. This was completely my idea. All that she did was she answered the questions that I asked her. right? So if you're going to be upset with anybody, be upset with me because Ruby didn't come on my channel trying to give anybody advice. It was my idea to ask her what her advice was because I think her advice is very useful and good for my audience. Now, the reason that I had to give you that intro, that the fact of it wasn't Ruby's idea, is because again, somebody who I do respect, Jackie Jax, who's been with me, one of my long-term subscribers. And I just have to say that I am disappointed in Jackie Jacks because I don't know how many times I have to keep putting the picture of Jerry Springer on my channel. Like, I don't know why people keep pushing me. Like, this is not Jerry Springer. And I don't, maybe it's causing the wrong effect. Maybe I'm putting the picture of Jerry Springer on my videos because I'm trying to give the impression this is not Jerry Springer, but maybe people are taking it the wrong way. They think it is Jerry Springer because I'm putting that up there. But anyway, so typical Jerry Springer stuff. So for whatever reason, Jackie Jacks decided to make a really nasty attack against Ruby. And when I say really nasty, on a surface level, it's written very slick. You know, sometimes people will try to pretend they're not talking trash when they really are, right? So it's a condescending way they say things to kind of pretend they're not talking trash. But I'm going to break down. Um, but what's concerning about this huge, attack that she made against Ruby is that nothing that Jackie Jack said had anything to do with the video I did with Ruby. And that's kind of my problem with it. And this is why I say my channel is not Jerry Springer. If you have a problem with Ruby, please go on her channel and talk trash to her there. And I'm not saying that I want you to do that, but what I'm saying is that what Jackie Jack said had nothing to do with the particular video. So if she was commenting directly on what Ruby was saying during my video, then that's different. Or oh, you know what I'm saying? But she's attacking her, flat out just attacking her, and it had nothing to do with the actual with anything that me and Ruby talked about. So if you want to know what I'm saying, you can watch the video that I did with Ruby, and you're going to see that what she's saying has nothing to do with what we were talking about. So, and that's just the reason why I'm a little bit disappointed in Jackie Jacks because I don't like this Jerry Springer stuff, right? If you have a problem with Ruby, go say it to her on her channel, right? But anyway, so or if you're going to comment on the video, comment on what we talked about. If Ruby said something on this interview that is so triggering to you, then yeah, say it. But to write all this stuff when what anyway, I'm sidetracking too much. So let me just first I'm going to read the entire comment, right? Because when you read it, if to the untrained eye, if you haven't dealt with this type of I would say jealousy attack, you might not see it as an attack because it's very cleverly written. So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to break it down. So she starts off normal, which is kind of standard when you want to try to attack somebody but pretend you're not. You have to kind of pretend like that's not what it's about. So she starts off saying this. She says, I'm so glad I wasn't born in the cold. So many things I hear from those who were is sad. They never got life skills one needs to live in the world we know. And you know what I mean. All organized religions are cults and about control. Fact. Whatever floats others' boats, then okay for them. But organizations who assign roles are still indoctrination camps. We don't live in a day and age of the 1950s roles. I'd like to see these women with husbands become true single parents and see what backbone they have no choice in developing. Try having no support, no husband, no child support, nothing. Come back and talk to me then. Sorry, but too many people live in a bubble. and not reality of how life can be and is so far so many. It's very close-minded. They have no idea how it is. I'd like to hear if she still feels the same way about a woman's role, like she talked about in one of her videos, which was pretty out of touch, judgmental, and flat out delusional. And if someone is going to talk about being real, then why wear wigs and not show your authentic self? This is the first time I seen her natural. I didn't even recognize her. And if you're going to put yourself out there on a public platform, you have to take the good and the bad, the positive and negative. Some need to live in the matrix and others unplugged decades ago. I also think age is a factor. They only have the short time they've been alive to gauge life on. Once you're older and have that history to see all the bull, you can see through so much. And as you well know, who actually runs the ship, others are blind to it. No offense, but this was not a video I could even finish. Some need to stick with their peer group because those of us with a real life experience can only shake our heads and just wish them well. If this comment offends, then so be it. However, it's real and unfiltered. Sugarcoating is for the wussies. So it might not even seem that bad if you're kind of falling for like the clever, snaky way that it's written. But just to clarify this, right? So she ends with saying, if this comment offends, then so be it. However, it's real and unfiltered. Sugarcoating is for the wussies. So let me just break this down in plain street language, right? So in street language, what she's basically saying is she's basically saying to Ruby, if you're annoyed by this, here's the middle finger, right? And you're a wussy. That's basically what she's saying, even though it's not worded that way, because when a person is really concerned when not attacking somebody, what they will say is, if this offends anybody, either I'm sorry or I don't mean to offend anybody, right? That's usually what follows when you say something. Well, if this offends somebody, or at least when I say something like that, it's because I'm worried about offending the person. So I'll say, like, I hope this doesn't offend you. But when a person says, if this comment offends you, then so be it. However, sugarcoating is for wussies. So just the fact she wrote it that way, she knows that she is attacking Ruby. That's why she's already saying that. And she's basically saying, hey, if you're offended, here's the middle finger, and you're a wussy, is what she's basically saying. So anyway, so I like Jackie Jacks just because, I don't expect perfection out of anybody. She's been a supporter of my channel for a very long time. So I'm not doing this to turn against Jackie Jacks. I actually hope that she still supports the channel after this because I do respect my long-term subscribers. So anyway, after she wrote what she wrote, then this is what I said to her. I said, I'll respond to this soon. I know we don't always agree on things, which is okay. But as a fair warning, you did say at the end of your comment, if this comment offends, then so be it. However, it is real and unfiltered. Sugarcoating is for wussies. By default, when I respond, I'm going to have to hold you to the same standard and not sugarcoat it. As you said, sugarcoating is for wussies. Right? So just to make it clear, this is the basis of why I'm doing this video. She asked for it. Right? My channel's not Jerry Springer. I don't know why people still put Jerry Springer stuff on my channels. Usually I just block people when they try to start Jerry Springer stuff on my channel, but I'm not going to block her because I do like her. She's one of my long-term subscribers. So she's putting this Jerry Springer stuff on my channel and I don't want it there, but I'm not going to block her. So I'm gonna basically hold her to the same standard that she put there for Ruby. Right? So again, this is what she asked for. She basically said, if this comment offends, basically middle finger to you, and sugarcoating is for the wussies. So after I told you, I gave her fair warning, and said, hey, well, you know what? I'm going to hold you to the same standard. So that was her opportunity to kind of backtrack. She could have backed out. She could have realized that there's no reason to attack Ruby at all. Like, why bring up a bunch of insults against Ruby that has nothing to do with the video, right? So that was her opportunity to back out and delete the comment. But she then says, and that's fine, please do. All right. So I just want to make it clear. I'm not even angry at Jackie Jacks. I'm disappointed in her more so that she would pull this Jerry Springer stuff. But I'm holding her to the same standard because when she comes on and attacks Ruby for no reason and comments on, because again, what I said earlier is that if she wanted to make a comment based on what we talked about, that's different. That's fair game. But when you deliberately come on and say a bunch of trash talk and stuff that has nothing to do with the video, that's just straight Jerry Springer garbage. So she's coming on and attacking Ruby for no reason. All that I'm doing is I'm holding her to the same standard. So I'm not going to sugarcoat my response. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to basically flat out break it down because, and it's not just about Jackie Jacks, it's a lot of people in the XJW community behave this way. And I've dealt with people like this too. And this is why the XJW community is toxic. This is why you can't trust people. This is why XJWs are not your friends. And this is why you really need to get to know somebody before you call them a friend. And I'm also going to break down what the problem is, why people are so toxic in this community. So I'm using her example because it's a perfect way to showcase it because she basically asked for it, right? So in her own language, sugarcoating is for the wussy. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to attack her. I'm not going to attack her. I'm going to not sugarcoat it though, and I'm going to break this down. So let me start with the first part of her message. So she says, whatever floats others' boats, then okay for them. But organizations who assign roles are still indoctrination camps. We don't live in a day and age of the 50s roles. So what she's referring to is something Ruby said over a year ago about how she believes in a nuclear family setup. And it's something that Ruby said years ago. So how Jackie Jacks even remembers and is quoting things that Ruby said a year ago. Well, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But that's a little dig at Ruby right away about, she's saying organizations who assign roles are indoctrination camps, but she's getting into Ruby's comment, which is why she's bringing that up, but nothing to do with the video. So then she says, I'd like to see these women with husbands become true single parents and see what backbone they have, no choice in developing. Try having no support, no husband, no child support, nothing. Come back and talk to me then. Well, not to be rude, but I just want to say when she says come back and talk to me, then nobody was talking to her. Right? It was my idea to have Ruby on because I wanted to do something different. I sometimes get sick of doing the same type of videos. I just wanted to have Ruby on and have a nice discussion. That's all, not Jerry Springer. Nobody asked Jackie Jack's opinion on this. And second, when she's talking about, because let me just go back. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it correctly. What she's talking about being a true single parent, we didn't say anything about parenting. There was nothing in Ruby's conversation where we talked about single parents versus parents that are both together, right? So she's bringing up something that Ruby said on her own channel probably over a year ago, and then she's saying, "Try coming back and talk to me then." But here's the thing: nobody was talking to her about anything about single parents. We weren't even talking about that. So this is another example of her attacking Ruby because none of this had anything to do with the conversation me and Ruby were having. But then think about what she's saying. She's saying, I'd like to see these women with husbands become true single parents. So she's basically saying she hopes that Ruby's husband leaves her, right? Because notice what she says. She's saying she wants women with husbands to then become single parents. So she wants Ruby's husband to leave her for what? To prove some sick point, right? To prove to say, haha, like why? And let me go back into the psychology, going back to XJWs. Real friends, and again, a lot of XJWs behave this way. So I'm just using Jackie Jackson's example, but a real friend is not going to want to a real friend is not going to want Ruby's husband to leave her so then she can struggle just because Jackie Jackson apparently struggled, right? That's what they call misery loves company. Why would you wish that upon somebody else, right? You see, in a healthy community, and this is going back to the XJW community being toxic, but in a healthy community, other people in your community that gone through the same trauma, you wish them well, right? So what people should be saying is, I'm glad Ruby's husband stuck with her this whole time, and I'm glad that Ruby is with the father of all of her kids and they're still together. Congratulations, because some people don't have it that good, right? That's what a healthy community would say. What the hell is wrong with the XJW community that this is what happens when an XJW comes out and shares her story and we're just trying to have a normal conversation and you're going to wish that her husband leaves her just so she can struggle? And what about the kids, right? So think about this. You want Ruby's kids to now suffer and wonder, where's daddy? Why are they broken up now? You want Ruby's kids to suffer because you suffered? Right? And that's the psychology with a lot of XJWs. This is why, like, and again, the XJW community, like, and this happened to me too, where people who are supposedly in the same community are attacking me over stupid stuff, right? Like for example, people had a fit when I started using the term XJW elites. Well, you know what? I explained in like 3 different videos what I mean by XJW elites. I've taken the time to explain it 3 different times. But people want to start trouble, right? So they ignore the fact that I explained it and they try to pretend I didn't explain it and try to attack me for it. But you don't see that in other communities. Like go to like an ex-Mormon channel, right? Or an ex-Scientology channel, and you tell me if other ex-Mormons and other ex-Scientology people, if this is what they do and come on and attack other people in the same community and say, I hope your husband leaves you so you can suffer as I suffered. It's so sick what she wrote. Like, think about it. So you want Ruby's kids to suffer for what? Right? Congratulations. And you know what? This may piss Jackie Jacks off more, but I want to say I am happy that Ruby and her husband stuck it out this whole time. I'm sure it hasn't been easy, and I'm happy that Ruby's kids don't have to grow up in a broken home, right? Not everybody has that luxury. That makes me happy. So I don't know what frequency, where Jackie Jackson's head is on this, but it's not just Ruby, because notice she says, I like to see these women with husbands. So she's wishing all XJW women who, if you didn't have it that bad and you had a husband that stuck you the whole time, she wants your husband to leave you to prove her sick point because apparently her husband left her. And I don't know what her situation is. I'm just assuming, right? Because a woman that has a good husband is not going to wish this on other women, right? Only somebody who's in a miserable state would wish, I hope your husband leaves you so that you can suffer like I don't know. But this is just, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Jackie Jacks, I thought I used to see her on Ruby's channel, maybe not in a while, but wasn't she one of these fake friends on Ruby's show? Like, didn't she used to be in the comments? I mean, maybe I'm mistaken. Let me know if that's correct or not, but I thought she was Ruby's supporter at one point. Wasn't Jackie Jacks in the comment section? So if I'm correct that Jackie Jacks was in the comment section, I just want to ask, why did Jackie Jacks become Ruby's enemy? Right? Because she has it better than you, right? Because she's happy, because she's healed, she's moved on, because she's tough, because she doesn't work. Like, why do you now wish bad on her? But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spend too much time on that one point. But then she says, come back and talk to me. Then again, we were not talking about anything about single parenting or anything like that. So why are you even bringing this to my channel? So then she goes on to say, sorry, but too many people live in a bubble and not reality of how life can be, as is for so many. It's very close-minded. They have no idea how it is. So that's just like a slap in the face towards Ruby. She's basically saying Ruby is stupid and she's in a bubble and she doesn't know anything. Right. And I'm just giving it again, I'm not sugarcoating it, just in Jackie Jack's own words, sugarcoating is for the wussies, right? So I'm not going to sugarcoat this because I know Jackie's not a wussy. So I'm giving it to you raw. So basically, what she's saying is Ruby is a dummy, right? She lives in a bubble, has no idea about anything about reality. She's just a dumb, closed-minded person. That's what she's saying, right? That Ruby's in a bubble. But let me just ask you this: how so? Can you give me one example of Ruby living in a bubble and not living in reality? And when it says she's very close-minded, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're not watching the same show, but when I watch Ruby's political show, I've seen her bring like the flat earth guy on, like Dave, one of the big flat earther guys. She's had him on. She's had me come on and talk about some conspiracy stuff. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're getting the show mixed up, but I don't think she's closed-minded. I think she's pretty open-minded, and I think her show proves that. The diversity of her show, I think, proves she's not closed-minded. But why say she lives in a bubble and not reality? Right? I just want to know if Jackie Jackson is watching this, can you give us an example of Ruby living in a bubble and not in reality? I'm just curious what example that she comes up with. Then she says, I'd like to hear if she still feels the same way about a woman's role. Like she talked about in one of her videos, which was pretty out of touch, judgmental and flat out delusional. Right. So she just said that Ruby lives in a bubble and not in reality. That was already calling her stupid. And now she's calling her judgmental and delusional. Well, before I even go on any further, let me just say this. Who's actually being judgmental? Right. I mean, this is a classic projection. Right. And for those who don't know really what these terms mean, projection is simply you accuse somebody else of being what you really are so that nobody sees that it's you that's judgmental, right? So she's pointing a finger at Ruby. Ruby's judgmental. Ruby's judgmental. She's hoping that others aren't going to realize that in reality, she's the one that's judgmental, right? But anyway, so let me break this down. She says, I'd like to hear if she still feels the same way about a woman's role, that it was pretty out of touch and delusional. So I believe she's referring to a video that Ruby did over a year ago. I think that was on season 1 of a Ruby show. So here's my question. Is she taking notes on Ruby? Right? Because this is what it has to be, because there's a lot of people like Jackie, and I've had the same thing happen to me. I swear these people must have a Ruby Quinn gossip journal where they take notes. It's like they watch every video Ruby makes, even though they don't like her. They don't like her, but they watch every episode that she does. They watch it, they take notes, and now she's gonna be able to recall and ask something about a video that Ruby is not even on her channel anymore, right? I mean, Ruby unlisted all of her videos, including her season 1 of her political videos, right? So she's quoting a video that doesn't even exist anymore. Right? So why are you coming on my channel and then attacking Ruby on a video she did over a year ago, quoting something she said about a woman's role over a year ago? Like, how do you even remember that? Right? Like I said, these people they study Ruby and they must write down everything down literally like they took notes in Watchtower, right? You know, when you went to the convention, you had your notepad and you took notes on all the talks. I swear they watch all of Ruby's videos and they must take notes, because how do they even remember stuff like this if they don't even like her to begin with? So why are you coming on my channel and bringing up something Ruby said over a year ago on a channel on a video that doesn't even exist that she removed that doesn't even exist anymore on her website just because she got rid of all of her old videos. So again, she's the one being judgmental, not Ruby. But then when she says delusional, right? So for those who aren't aware of it, so Ruby said something about like she believes in a nuclear family and she believes that that the woman should be home like taking care of the home like a homemaker, taking care of the kids, and the husband goes out and he does like the work. And Jackie Jackson's saying that's delusional. So let me tell you what delusional is. And this is going to go back into the psychology of what I call the loser mentality of the XJW community. So in the loser mentality of the XJW community, people that stay in that state cannot comprehend success, right? So like the poor man's mentality is that both husband and wife must work, right? Because like, oh, we got to put our checks together. Like they both have to work, right? But here's the thing, that's not ideal, right? That is not an ideal situation. So let me explain this when Jackie Jackson is saying that her view is delusional. Many men, right? I'll talk about the women later, but from a man's perspective, there are lots of men who would prefer their wife does not work and their wife takes care of the children and that they don't have to worry about somebody else raising their children being raised by a babysitter, or having to go to public schools and things like that. So, and this is not about being rich. Yeah, rich people are like that too, but I'll tell you an example. So I know somebody who I grew up with, who he's a state trooper, and he makes like over $100,000 a year. He's been a state trooper for a long time, and he's not rich, but he makes pretty good money. So he specifically told me, and he's somebody who actually watches my channel too, who was never a JW, but he was telling me how like that's what he wants. He does not want his wife. He would prefer that his wife raise their children so that somebody else is not doing it, such as the teachers or having babysitters. And just to make a side point too, when it comes to things like CSA, a lot of CSA stuff has happened before with babysitters, right? So like there's a lot of men who they would prefer the wife stay home and take care of that, take care of the children and all that. So now me personally, I'm not even talking about children, but like I'm a truck driver. I work long hours and stuff like that. I sometimes forget simple things. Just to give you an example, I paid my car payment late this month or last month because I simply forgot the money is sitting right there. Is more than enough money. It's right there. And I just forgot because I'm always on the go. So for me personally, and I don't plan on having children at my age, but I would be happy to date a woman that I would take care of to say, hey, I'll work full time and drive and go over the road. And if you can take care of all this other stuff, bills and all that stuff, and I don't have to worry about it, I could just come home and when I do, like I would actually prefer that. But here's the thing, it's an opinion thing, right? It's a preference. I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but there's a lot of men who they would prefer that. And then there's a lot of women who prefer that. There's a lot of women who they don't want to work a 9 to 5 job. If they can be what they call a homemaker and say, hey, why don't I just stay home and make a good home, right? Take care of everything, and home cook everything, right? No fast food and take on all that. Like take care of everything and take so some women want that, right? A lot of women don't want to work a 9 to 5, but let me just clarify when she's saying like it's out of touch. So let me just clarify this. If a woman wants to have an actual career, like she wants to build a business and she wants to go to school or be a nurse, that's different. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about like Ruby never said something like a woman should not be allowed to go out and have an actual career. She wasn't talking about, a husband tying up the woman and saying you're not allowed to work. We're talking about women who do not want to work a dead end 9 to 5 job. So if a woman wants to have a career or do something like that, I'm all for that, right? Don't stop a woman who wants to go out and build a career or something like that, or be a business owner. Don't stop that. But when you have a situation where it's just about a woman working a 9 to 5 job, like a and again, going back to the to like I want to say the loser mentality of a lot of XJWs is like, oh, both people have to work because they're broke, right? You're living paycheck to paycheck, so we need both incomes. What I'm saying is that's not ideal. It's not ideal that a woman needs to work a 9 to 5 job if she doesn't want to work a dead end 9 to 5 job. I'm not talking about building a career. So and anyway, and when I say like the XJW loser mentality, so Jackie Jacks, if you go hang out with some rich people, right? Go find a club where it's all like wealthy people, and you'll see in that world of successful people like doctors and lawyers and things like that, you'd probably be surprised how many women want to stay home and be that role, right? And successful marriages where you have a man that's actually successful, not living paycheck to paycheck. So if Ruby's husband makes enough money where Ruby for a while, I know she mentioned recently she started working, and that might have just been because she felt like working. But if Ruby for a long time has put this view out there and she stayed home and homeschooled her children and her husband is making enough money to support them, is Jackie Jacks jealous of that? Right? Because again, that's ideal. And again, hang out with some successful people, and you'll be surprised how many homemakers you have. Because most women would be happy to have a man that goes out and earns the money, and then they can not have to work a 9 to 5. But the bottom line is that it's a matter of preference. So the only one being judgmental is Jackie for calling Ruby delusional for a view that a lot of successful people have that view. So then she says, and if someone is going to talk about being real, then why wear wigs and not show your authentic self? You see, this is like she's slapping Ruby in the face figuratively. She just straight up talking trash. There's no excuse for it. There is no excuse for that. Watch the video be Ruby. There is absolutely no reason for her to straight up talk trash and talk about, oh, if you want to talk about being real, then why wear wigs and not show your authentic self? Right? Just trash talking. But let me just explain to you. Now, let me go back into the more psychology of the toxic XJW brain and why a lot of these people are snakes and they're not your friends. So, when she says, why wear wigs and not show your authentic self? Well, one, she's not on my channel wearing a wig. So, why are you bringing this up? Go find a video with Ruby doing a wig and comment on that. So why are you bringing this up? But here's the thing. This is where Jackie Jacks thinks that she's slick. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, if you come on my channel, again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Because sugarcoating's for wussies. She said it herself. Unfortunately, if you come on this channel, you're going to be humbled and you're going to realize you're not as smart as you think you are. So she thinks she's being real slick by what she's saying, right? Like real slick, right? She's saying, if you're going to talk about being real, then why wear wigs and not show your authentic self? So when she said that, I recalled I recalled Ruby at some point saying something about why she wasn't going to wear her wigs anymore. And I recalled her saying something like, did she say something about authentic? So then I realized that, and this is what I'm saying, Jackie thinks that she's slick by what she's saying, is that Jackie again went into her Ruby Quinn gossip journal where she's got all of her notes on everything Ruby says so they can attack her. And what she's doing is she's going back several months and she's using something Ruby said against her, right? She's pretending that's not what she's doing, but she's trying to quote something Ruby said and twist it to attack her. Now, again, I want to know, how does Jackie Jacks, like, why is she keeping notes on everything Ruby says to attack her? So anyway, when I read this and I recalled to mind something about Ruby said something like that, I was unable to track down the episode that Ruby said that. And I narrowed it down to, I said, okay, I think she was saying something about why she wasn't going to wear wigs anymore. And I think maybe that was her season 2 intro, right? When she came back. So that's what I was, so I went back to this video, right? So you can find this on Ruby's channel, The Return of the Unrelenting Political Corner. And on a hunch, I'm like, maybe I think this is where she might have said something. And it ended up being where Jackie Jacks took it from. So listen very closely to what Ruby says and verse it how Jackie's trying to twist it to attack her for no reason, right? No reason at all.
See, Mrs. So Much More says, dude, I'd love to sit and talk for a day. That's exciting. JG says, Ruby, are you wearing a wig? All right, guys. So no more wigs. That's the newest
What?
update. No more
What?
wigs. When I moved, I threw everything away. Literally, I don't even have a microphone anymore. I'm using my headset. But don't worry, I'm gonna buy a new mic. But my decision with the wigs now is like I'm done with the wigs. I'm gonna be even more authentically myself and wear my real hair. So this is my real Puerto Rican, curls slash waves going on here. So this is
Nice.
my real hair. No more wigs.
Nice. Nice.
So notice what she said. She said her decision of not wearing the wigs anymore was because she wanted to be even more authentically herself. Right? You see how Jackie Jacks is trying to twist what she said? She's saying more authentically herself. She's not saying I was fake the whole time and now I want to be authentic. So I'm going to, she clearly said she wants to be even more authentic. Ruby is one of the most authentic XJW channels that exist, especially when her whole channel consists of live videos. But do you see what I'm saying? So like, there's a couple of things wrong with this. So number one, let me just say this right off the bat. So number one, how can you call Ruby not being real because she is wearing different color wigs and everybody knows she's wearing a wig? She even one time I think wore like a red wig because she was upset about something. So she's like, I'm wearing red today because I'm heated. So like when a person who's entertaining and they're wearing different colored wigs, like some people might remember Little Kim in the 90s, how she used to do that. How is that being fake when everybody knows she's wearing a colored wig for a particular reason and you see her every week? When it like, how is that being fake when you're just entertaining and you know that when everybody knows it's a wig and she changes the colors out? So that's not being fake. I mean, when you tell a cancer patient who's bald who's wearing a wig you're being fake, right? And that's a different story because a cancer patient may not want anyone to know that they're wearing a wig. Ruby, everybody knows she was wearing different colored wigs. So that's not being fake to begin with. But the second thing I want to bring attention to is that, so you heard what she said. All that she said was, I want to be even more authentically myself. Right? So notice the date on this video, August 26th. Right? We're in December now. So Jackie Jacks watches my video. She goes into the Ruby Quinn gossip journal, right? Where apparently they have to be taking notes on her. And she's gonna go back like 5 months in the past. She's gonna go back 5, 6 months just to find something like this and twist it and say, oh, aha, look what Ruby said on August 26, 2025. Okay, no, I can use this to call her fake and say you're not being real because you're wearing wigs, right? Clearly you heard what she said. She's just saying she's going to be more authentically herself. And let me explain this too. So when you put yourself out here like she does, and I have, people who take notes on you and try to like dissect every little thing you said and try to trip you up, well, we're going to sometimes say things the wrong way. Doesn't mean that everything we say we mean 100%. We're going to sometimes just word things. We may express something a certain way that makes sense in our head, and maybe it comes across the wrong way. And I'll give you examples. So I did a very controversial video titled Powerful Realization of Governing Body Pushing Vex. And the main point of this video was all these Jehovah's Witnesses and EXJWs crying about the vaccine, and they're mad now because they took it because the governing body told them to take the vax, and now they're crying about it and they want to see justice of the governing body. So I made this controversial video, and the point of it was for us to start taking responsibility, right? The governing body didn't make you do anything. You chose to do what these people said because you believe they're speaking for God, and that's the root of the problem. Is that Jehovah's Witnesses got to stop listening to these people, right? I didn't take it. Even I was a Jehovah's Witness when this whole thing happened, and when they pushed it, I didn't take it. That was my wake up call. So that was the point of this video. Is I was trying to help EXJWs and Jehovah's Witnesses stop crying about it and realize that that's your wake up call. At what point do you stop letting these men tell you what to do who are obviously not speaking for God? However, people, just like they do at Ruby, they try to pick apart everything that I said. So in another video where I've talked about how the governing body pushed the vaccine and they manipulated people to the vaccine, they said, you said that it's not their fault. And now you're saying, like, no, I'm not going to say everything perfect. The point of what I'm saying still stands. It is your own fault if you've taken a vaccine. You can't blame the governing body because you were stupid enough to believe these people. I was making a strong point. I know that point is hard to hear, but I do understand that they did heavily manipulate the organization to take it. I was just making the stronger realization that we have to take responsibility because you know what? They didn't force anybody to take it. But what I'm saying is that this is what people do. They take notes on everything you say. And then in this case, every time that I've tried to, after this point, talk about how the governing body did manipulate people to take it, you said that. You're being a hypocrite. No, you're twisting what I'm saying. But this is what happens when you put yourself out there like Ruby and you just say things. You got people that are taking notes on you. And literally in this case, Jackie Jacks went back like 5 months to pull something out of this video to say, oh, look, I can catch her hair, so now let me attack her with the wigs. So my question is, Jackie Jacks, how do you even know to even find this stuff? Like again, they have to be taking notes on her. So then she says, after she slaps her in the face spiritually or figuratively, she slaps Ruby in the face, talking about you're not real, why wear wigs then and not be authentic, right? Just straight trash talking and manipulating and twisting what she actually said. So then she says, I didn't even recognize her. Right? Really? You didn't recognize her? Okay, so number one, the thumbnail has a big picture of Ruby's face on it, right? It's taking up half the thumbnail. So, but you didn't recognize her, you still didn't know it was Ruby, right? So, and let me just say this too, as far as she said she didn't even recognize Ruby. Here's a picture of what the thumbnail looks like. Why would you even click on this video to begin with? This is what I don't understand about toxic EXJWs is that like you watch people who you don't like just to attack them and take notes. Why would you even click on it? Obviously, Jackie Jacks does not like Ruby. It's very clear. So why even watch this video? I don't understand this. So like when I got attacked a while back, like some people made videos and stuff like that attacking me, and people like were shocked, like, oh, you didn't hear what they said? Like, I don't got time to watch people I don't like. Like, I don't care. I don't care enough about those people to care what they have to say. And some people were kind of shocked, like, no, I can't even keep up with watching the people who I like literally. So let me just give a shout out real quick to a woman named Wendy. So Wendy's very dear to me, and after I did a video with Byron, who had some very shocking. Please watch this video with Byron that I did. But anyway, so this woman Wendy is sending me other stuff that kind of goes along with some of the stuff Byron was saying, and I haven't gotten to it yet. But I feel bad because I do actually want to watch it. She's sending me stuff that I'm actually interested in. But the point that I'm bringing up is that even when people who I like send me information I'm interested in, I cannot keep up with all the stuff that people send me. And I am going to get to Wendy's stuff, just to put that out there, Wendy, if you're watching. I am going to watch it. But I'm just making the point that, like, I don't have time. There's so much content out there. People respect my opinion a lot. So I get a a lot of people that send me videos all the time, I can't even keep up with the stuff from the people that I like. Do you think that I would ever click on a video with a thumbnail of a person I do not like and I'm going to sit there and watch an hour of? I don't have time for that. And goes back into the psychology of the toxic EXJWs, is that you have nothing better to do than watch people you don't like. Why did Jackie Jacks even click on this video to begin with? You can see it's about Ruby, right? So wouldn't you just skip over this video, right? Don't you have 500 other YouTube videos you could be watching? So what the toxic EXJW does is that instead of watching maybe upbuilding content that will help build their lives up, right, that will help them move forward and progress, they waste their time dwelling on people they don't like and watching stuff. So I just wanted to say that she said she didn't recognize Ruby, but why do you even click on a video to begin with? But then if you look at the video, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, right? Is you really don't recognize her? Honestly, she looks that different. She looks like an alien, right? I mean, did I get the wrong guess? Is this somebody else? Right? Like, is this Barbara Anderson? Did I get the names mixed up and it's not really Ruby? Maybe that's why, because I got the. Of course it's Ruby. Just because she has her hair back, right? Like she just has her hair back. That's all. What do you mean you don't recognize her? Right? Her name is at the top of the screen. You don't recognize her. You don't know who I'm talking to. Right. But anyway, the reason I want to bring that up is because when she says I didn't even recognize her, what I'm basically showing is that obviously she recognizes her, and this is just another way she's attacking her. Right. She recognizes her. This is just a way she's trying to say Ruby's so ugly that I didn't even recognize her without her wig. That's what she's trying to claim. That's what, if you're reading between the lines, that's what she means by I didn't even recognize her. Right. When it clearly looks like Ruby. So. And I just don't like when people talk trash like this, but then they try to gaslight everybody like they're not talking trash. Oh, I just don't want to sugarcoat anything. No, you're basically just talking trash to her for no reason. So then she goes on to say, and if you're going to put yourself out there on a public platform, you have to take the good, the bad, the positive, and the negative. You see, so this is her way of pretending she's not trash talking. Like she's trying to say, well, if you're going to put yourself out there, then you just got to deal with like criticism. Well, no, I'm sorry, I disagree with this. Just because somebody puts himself out there, I don't think you got a right to come on and talk trash for no reason and call them stupid and call them delusional and tell them that, if you're real, you wouldn't wear wigs, so you're not being authentic, right? I don't think you got a right to just trash talk somebody for no reason just because she puts herself on a public platform. I mean, I know people do that, like a lot of trolls do that. But if you're a decent person, no, I don't think you got a right to talk trash about somebody just because they put themselves out there, and at least stick with the subject matter. So if she really wants to talk about the bad, the good, the positive, and the negative about something about Ruby, stick to what Ruby said on my interview, right? She's talking trash about things that Ruby said on her channel a year ago, right? Because she's got the notebook where she's taking notes on stuff, right? So that's just trash talking. That's not just criticism. You're just talking trash. And one more thing I want to focus on when she talks about, if you're going to put yourself on a public platform. So I want you to look at the screen and I want to explain this because I don't think everybody understands this who's not on YouTube. It's very easy for somebody like Jackie Jacks to talk all this trash, right? Even though she's claiming she's not, but she's just gaslighting everybody by trying to claim she's not trash talking. And it's easy for Jackie and other people who are like that to take notes on Ruby, right? Watch all of her videos, right? Even watch my interview with a big thumbnail where you see who's on the video and you still watch it, right? You got time to watch people you don't like. But it's so easy for people like this to trash talk and take notes and attack and find fault when you yourself are hiding behind a fake name and a fake profile picture. And I want to make this clear. There's other EXJWs who I talk to who do hide their face and hide their name, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking trash about people, right? It's easy to talk trash about people. If you're going to talk all this trash about Ruby and talk about she wearing wigs and all this, it takes a lot of courage like Ruby to show her face on the internet and use her first and last name, right? Not everybody can do that. So she's saying Ruby's fake and all this, and Ruby's wearing wigs, she's not being authentic and all of this. But Jackie Jacks, why don't you put your real name on YouTube, your first and last name, and put a picture of your real self, not an AI cartoon picture. And then why don't you create a channel and do lives and have other people scrutinize you on the internet and see how well you fare trying to do the same thing. It's not as easy as you think, right? And another thing too is that the way Jackie is attacking Ruby, do you know that there's some people who committed suicide over stuff like that? It's happened, right? Mainly with younger people, like mainly maybe more so teenagers, but there's people who, just based on the amount of stuff that Jackie said, there's people who committed suicide because of being attacked online. And Ruby's been attacked by a lot of other people for a long time on the internet. There are people who commit suicide over that. Why? Because it's not easy to deal with. And the same things happened to me. I've been attacked publicly too. So it takes, in Jackie Jack's language, somebody who's not a wussy that will put their name and their picture out there and speak their opinions. You see, Jackie Jack, she will speak her opinions and she will trash talk people, but do you think she's going to show her face and put her real name out there? I don't think so. Right? I don't think so. So you can't really criticize her and say that she's being fake and she's wearing a wig and all this stuff, and you're still hiding who you are while you're trash talking people. That's a wussy thing in your language. Again, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just saying that this is what you said. You said you're not going to sugarcoat anything because sugarcoating's for the wussies. Well, you know what? To me, I think a wussy is somebody who you're going to trash talk somebody and call them stupid and delusional and tell them they're fake and they're wearing wigs. You're going to talk trash about somebody while you're hiding your name and your picture, and you're talking trash about somebody who's put themselves out there. And for all those people who troll like this, just try it out and see how hard it is. It's not that easy to put your first and last name out there, and you're subject to criticism, and people attack you, and they take notes, and they got the Ruby Quinn journal where they write everything Ruby says, and then they go back a year in the past to talk about her view on a woman's role, something she said a year in the past, right? That's what happens when you put your face out there, but it's not that easy. And again, Jackie, I'm really not saying this to offend you. I know it may sound like you don't be offended, because remember, you said it's for the wussies, right? I'm just not sugarcoating it. I still like Jackie Jacks, and I think she's very intelligent. I'm not sugarcoating it because this is what she asked for. So then she says, some need to live in the Matrix and others unplugged decades ago. Just another, she's basically saying Ruby's stupid, and that's all she's saying, right? You ever watch the Matrix movie and the humans got the well, I don't want to get into it, but basically she's saying that Ruby's an idiot again and gaslighting language. I also think age is a factor. They only have the short time they've been alive to gauge life on. Once you're older and have that history, you see the bull. You can see through so much. And as you well know, who actually runs the ship, others are still blind to it. So she's using the Matrix to try to sound intelligent as she's talking trash, but basically that's just another word of saying she's trying to say Ruby's stupid. She's in the Matrix, and she's saying when she says age is a factor, she's trying to say that like Ruby's not intelligent because she's young. Well, let me explain this to you. So you remember those old school video games? Like I'm going back to like Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Well, I don't know so much about the newer video games, but on certain games you can choose right in the beginning if you want to play on difficulty level or normal or easy, right? A lot of games would be on easy, but you can play it in difficult mode. Well, Ruby was born in New York City, right? So right from the start, she's playing life on difficult mode. She started off on difficult mode. Now, I'm not trying to say that just because you grew up in New York City, you have it harder than people. I'm not saying that. But you do start life off on difficult mode like a video game if you're in New York City. That's just a fact, right? It's New York City is not an easy city to live in. So once you grew up in New York City, two, wisdom has nothing to do with age. Wisdom does come with age naturally. Like with age, you get natural wisdom because, yes, the longer you've been alive, the more likely you are to have had multiple experiences. But again, when you're starting off with somebody who starts off in New York City, right? So she started off on difficult. Age has nothing to do with anything. When I was 12 years old, I was outsmarting most adults around me when I was 12 years old. And that's because I had a very toxic, narcissistic father who was very abusive. And at 12 years old, I had to learn survival skills. I had to learn how to outsmart him. And I had to learn my mom's reactions and how I can, try to help her, but know what's going to piss him off, what she does. And basically, at 12 years old, I had to outsmart two adults. And I've at a very young age, continued to have to outsmart adults. And I'm saying that because it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with experiences. And all these things play a factor in that. So Ruby being young has nothing to do with whether or not she's intelligent or not. Age has nothing to do with it. Now, yes, it is true that the older you are, you do get more wise, but I'm only 46 years old, and I know that I'm smarter than the people who are maybe 60, 70, not everybody. As I know there's people who are 70 and 80 that I'm smarter than, I also know there's people who are in their 20s that are smarter than me, right? There are kids that are geniuses that are smarter than me. So it's a very, I can say, unintelligent, shallow statement to say age is a factor. Age has, you have to be intelligent enough to understand where intelligence comes from, and it mostly comes from experiences. And, like, for example, think about, say, people who have gone through satanic ritual abuse, right? Forget CSA, forget normal CSA. You got regular CSA, and then you got satanic ritual abuse CSA. Well, think about a child that's gone through satanic, you know what I'm saying? Not too many people go through something like that. So like it doesn't matter how old you are. You could have somebody that's gone through that satanic ritual abuse at 10 years old, right? And at 25 years old, they could be really highly aware and have a lot of experience and a lot of intelligence because of what they've gone through. It has nothing to do with age. So then she says, no offense, but this was not a video I could even finish. Well, don't take this the wrong way, Jackie Jacks. Trust me, I'm not offended that you're so jealous and resentful over Ruby that you couldn't watch it because you're jealous of her. That you didn't offend me by that. If you were so triggered that you couldn't even finish this video, but you could write a comment this long, then I don't know. I don't know. The fact that you couldn't finish the video, but you would take time to write something this long, that's something that you have to work out on your own. But you didn't. Don't worry, you're not offending me by the fact that you didn't finish the video. You shouldn't have clicked on it in to begin with. As soon as you see Ruby's name, if you don't like the girl, why do you even watch it to begin with? But no, I don't think anyone is offended that you didn't finish the video. It shows how jealous you are of Ruby that you can't stand to see her in any positive light. And then she says some need to stick to their peer group. So again, she's belittling Ruby like, Ruby, you're a dummy. You need to just hang out with young people, right? But here's the thing. If you do ever watch Ruby's show, I feel like she's the youngest person on her panel, right? The show seems to thrive with a bunch of older, intelligent people. So I don't know. Does Ruby need to stick with her peer group? Should Ruby kick all those people off? Right? I mean, should Ruby kick Jimmy off and tell Jimmy, sorry, Jimmy, you're too old. I need somebody who's my age because I need to stick to my peer group. Like, what is she talking? Stick to the peer group. And then she says, because those of us with the real life experience can only shake our heads and just wish them well. And this is probably one of the biggest insults that she makes against Ruby. The other ones are pretty obvious, like, she's fake, she wears wigs, and she's dumb and all that stuff. Like, that's all pretty bad in itself. But this is pretty bad in a sense that, like, when she says because those of us with the real life experiences, she's basically belittling any challenge that Ruby has ever gone through and basically saying, you've gone through nothing. You have no life experiences. You're just the baby. You're just a kid. You just need to stick with your peer group of young people, right? That's what she's basically saying, because those of us with the real experiences, we just shake our head and wish those idiots well, is what she's saying. But this statement, it only proves Ruby's intelligence, right? So let me show you what I mean. So keep that in mind. According to Jackie, Ruby has no real experiences in life at all. So she just shakes her head like Ruby's a dumb idiot, right? Her and her friends, because it says those of us where, so it's like a whole group of people that probably, they have like, what you used to have the book study in a congregation. I think they got a book study of Ruby. I think they get together every Tuesday night and a group of people, they watch Ruby's show, they take notes and they talk trash after and record it all. That's what I think. But anyway, so those of us with real experience. So listen to what Ruby says about that shows Ruby's intelligence.
But it still felt the same. It's like it's us against the world because we don't have anybody else, no siblings, no nothing. That's when I really connected with someone. That is somebody who I call a friend. We knew each other since we were 10 years old to the time we were 17 until I moved away. But that to me was a friend. We were in each other's houses. She walked my dog. We knew each other's families. She met my grandma, my cousins. Like we knew each other's family. And we were tight like that. We knew each other's secrets. We've been through embarrassing moments together. We talked about boys together. Like we were always each other's wingman. That to me is a friend. And that to me is my best friend for the rest of my life, even if we don't talk anymore because of the whole religious stuff. But that to me is a friend. Everybody else who came after that, you just know me, you know of me, you know my name, but you don't know me. You haven't been through those things with me. You haven't gone through thick and thin with me. Like you don't know me. So and that's how I view people in real life. Imagine how I would view somebody online. You haven't even met me. You just watch me and you think you know me? Like no, please.
So according to Jackie Jacks, those of us, right, that take notes on Ruby, those of us with real experiences, right? We just shake our heads and wish people like Ruby well, because Ruby has no idea what she's talking about, right? Those with real experiences. Ruby says to people like Jackie, she's not talking particularly to Jackie, she's talking about people like her. She said, you haven't even met me. You just watch me and you think you know me. So let me break down what Ruby's saying, right? It's pretty common sense what she's saying. Jackie's never even met Ruby. She just watches Ruby's TV show. And then what? You think you know her? You think that, how do you know if Ruby's had real experiences or not? How do you know that? The only way you would know that is if Ruby came out and told her worst experiences that she's gone through, and she said, this is the worst thing I've ever gone through. If Ruby hasn't done that, how do you know she has no real life experiences? Based on what? Based on the fact that you're jealous of her? Based on the fact that you just don't like her because her husband didn't leave her, and like based on what? What is it based on for you to say that she has had no real experiences? So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think of this psychology part. So just let me know, because I'm just curious what you think. I think that Ruby knows what she's talking about. Jackie said that Ruby's delusional, but I think that Jackie's delusional because what Ruby's saying is common sense. Just because you watch her on YouTube, you don't know her. You never met her. So how do you even know what she's gone through? Right? What if she's gone through satanic ritual abuse? Now, I don't think she has, but what if she's gone through that and she's just not saying it? The reason I bring that example up is that how do you know if she has or hasn't? You have no idea. And this is the problem, is that when people like Ruby put their face out there, people judge them, and they judge people like me, and they make, accusations, and they make judgments, and they assume and they think they know you simply because you're on YouTube doing a video. Right? So I consider myself to be, I would say, friendlier with Ruby than a lot of these other people, even though like she would view me as an online acquaintance. And I can say, well, I consider myself to be friendly with her. I don't know her either like that. I don't know what she's gone through. Right now, I could say, well, I've been through worse stuff than anybody, but I don't know. I think I've probably gone through maybe worse than Ruby, but maybe I haven't gone through worse. I don't know what she's gone through. So how can I say that, right? I can have my own opinion in my head, well, but nobody knows that unless she comes out and she says, this is the worst thing that's happened to me. Then you can judge that. But other than that, you don't know her. And another reason about I want to bring focus on what Ruby's saying is that when people hate Ruby and attack her, and I've been attacked too, is that what people do is they just watch your content and the way you present it, and then they think they know you and they form an opinion if they like you or don't like you. And some people hate you, right? There's people who hate me who don't know me. There's people who hate Ruby like Jackie that don't know her. You can't really even hate people you don't know, and that's the problem. So all these haters that come out, they attack you because they think you know you and they think they don't like you, but you don't even know these people, right? All that you know is the way Ruby presents her information, and that's it. You don't know her like that. So how can you say that you and your group of people that take notes on her wish her well because you guys have real experiences and she doesn't? Based on what? And then after that last insult against Ruby, she concludes her message with, hey, if this offended you, middle finger to you, right? Sugarcoating is for the wussies, right? So she knows that she's trash talking, and it's all done in gaslighting language. So you wouldn't think it just by glance, but no, she's just straight trash talking. And watch the video that I did at Ruby, and you'll see that nothing that Jackie Jacks brought up had nothing to do with our conversation. So as I said in the beginning of this video, I gave Jackie Jacks a fair warning. I said, hey, it's okay if we disagree, but I'm going to hold you to the same Jerry Springer standard that you wanted to come on my channel with, right? So I warned her, and now let me hold her to that standard, right? And if you think I've already done that, no, I'm just getting started. I just broke down the facts, right? Now let me really not sugarcoat my conclusion of this whole thing. So this is my conclusion of this whole thing. I think that the bottom line is that Jackie Jacks is jealous. She's jealous of Ruby. And not just Jackie Jacks, but let me explain all women that are taking notes on Ruby and all EXJWs that behave in a similar way. They're jealous. And let me explain to you why I'm saying that. Number one, the first thing I think they're jealous of is the fact that Ruby is attractive, right? And I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way. I know she's married and she has a good husband, but I'm just giving you the facts. She's a very attractive woman. And right away, a lot of catty women are going to be jealous just if another woman is prettier than she is. So I have no idea what Jackie Jacks looks like. But based on her actions, I'm pretty sure Ruby's probably more attractive because this is the psychology part of it. Second, Ruby is on the heavier side and she had like 4 kids. And a lot of women that have 4 kids, they do not keep their looks, right? And I'm just being honest. Some of them do, but some of them don't. Many women, when they get overweight, they lose their looks. Not all of them. Ruby is one of those people who, even though you can tell she's on the heavy side, she's still a very attractive woman. This is going to infuriate people like Jackie Jacks. Women who have a weight problem, who aren't pretty, are really not going to like Ruby because here she is looking pretty and she may be overweight too. So this is just standard, right? Then I think that they're jealous because Ruby's talked about, I think she has 4 kids. all by one man. That is unusual nowadays, right? A lot of XJWs, they have a bunch of kids by different men, which is okay. I'm not judging anybody. The only one judging people is Jackie Jacks, to be honest. But the fact that Ruby comes on, she comes to YouTube, she's with the same guy she's been with, right? The father of her kids is there the whole time. That annoys them too, right? So more jealousy. Then the fact that Ruby has a husband who's been able to work and support the whole family so that Ruby can stay home and homeschool her children, they're jealous about that too, right? So I don't know anything about Jackie Jacks, to be honest, but chances are I'm going to say that Jackie Jack's father of her children probably didn't stick around, right? And I'm just saying that based on her actions of envy and jealousy. So it bothers them that, Ruby's husband is still there. Then I think, as you heard what Jackie Jack said, she hopes that women who have husbands become single. So she's saying she hopes Ruby's husband leaves her so then she can suffer as Jackie Jack suffered. So that just tells me Jackie Jack has suffered and hasn't recovered. So the fact that they think Ruby has a good life, it pisses them off. But why though? Do you see what I'm saying? Now let's go back into the psychology of the toxic XJW on where this is coming from. Why would you be upset and want her husband to leave her so that she can suffer like you? Why would you want that? Right? And let me give you a powerful statement to think about as far as that. So let's say that happened. Let's say that Ruby met her demise, right? Her husband leaves, she becomes broke, she becomes desperate, right? She stops her YouTube channel. Let's say that happened, just as Jackie Jacks won, and now Ruby has to suffer, and Ruby's kids have to suffer because Jackie Jacks has her own jealousy to deal with, right? So let's say that happened. Ruby lost everything, and now Ruby's suffering. Okay, so now you're happy, right? You're going to gloat for a little bit, right? Right? Maybe you're going to gloat for a couple of hours, right? Then you're going to need another drink of whiskey, right? So it's not going to last, right? You're going to feel good for a couple of hours, and then you're going to need another drink of whiskey, and then what? You're going to then eventually you're going to have to find another XJW to attack, right? Because the feeling is not going to last. But what I really want you to think about is that, let's say that you got your wish and Ruby's husband left her and she met her demise and all these bad things happened to her, and you could say, ha ha, look at Ruby, right? Now Ruby is suffering like I'm suffering. Well, when are you going to realize that you are still suffering? Right? Now think about that. You want her to suffer. So let's say that you got your wish and now she's suffering. You can say, ha ha, look at Ruby suffer. Because now Ruby is suffering like you're suffering. But when are you going to realize that you are still suffering? You see, who cares if Ruby's suffering or if she's doing well? You're still suffering. You're going to suffer whether Ruby is doing great or whether Ruby is suffering just like you're suffering. You're still suffering. And this is what I don't understand about the psychology of toxic people, is that why do you want to just have more people suffer because you're suffering? Don't you want to not suffer no more? Right? So if you're jealous that Ruby is attractive, or that her husband is still there and that she has a podcast that people actually like her and they support her, if you're jealous of Ruby, why don't you take positive notes on Ruby? Throw away the gossip journal. Get rid of that one, right? Why don't you take notes from her, right? Why don't you see, well, what is Ruby doing? How did she find a good guy to stick around this whole time? What did she do so that maybe the next guy I find will stick around? Right? Why does she still look good after she had 4 kids, right? Well, maybe find out why. Don't just try to talk trash because she's wearing a wig. Oh, you're not being fit, and attack her. Why, if you're jealous of the way she looks, why don't you try to see what her secret is? And let me give you an example, the difference between being toxic and being healthy. So some of you know I know Ole Demigard. Not everybody knows who he is, so he may not be important to other people. But I look up to Ole Demigard. I'm not jealous of him. I'm not, I don't want to, I don't envy him. I don't want him, I don't want to take away what he has and bring him down to where I'm at on my level that I'm currently on. I admire him, right? I look at him and say, hey, I want to be like Ole, right? So I take positive notes on someone like Ole. That's healthy. But why do toxic people decide that they want to take notes in a negative way to attack people they're jealous of? If you're jealous of something Ruby has, why do you try to obtain what it is that she has that irritates you so much? Because trying to pull her down to your level and make her suffer, you don't realize that even if she's suffering, you are still suffering. That's the problem. You are still suffering. All this trash talking and talking trash and taking notes on her, and it's not going to fix your own situation. But anyway, let me move on. So going back to what you see on the screen now, when you look at the screen, it may look like I'm praising Ruby if you look at the screen, but I'm not praising Ruby. I'm showing you a visual of the psychology in Jackie Jack's brain. This is how people like Jackie Jack, this is what they see. They're jealous. This is what they see, and they don't like it. So another thing that I think that they don't like about Ruby is that, as you can see, Ruby has no drama, and she's very comfortable talking to men. Ruby has a good relationship with men, and is nothing inappropriate, but men have an easy time connecting with her. Right? Her and Jimmy, that's like a lifelong partnership right there. They could probably do other projects besides this political stuff together. Right? And it's interesting because then Bo Benson, who is, you could say, unique in his own way, he's not really like Jimmy. He has his own different style. And he pops in and he's co-hosting with Ruby. And look how easy he just fit right in. Right? You know why? Because Ruby understands men. And there's no drama, right? There's no drama. You're never gonna have, if you're an EXJW Bell, you're never gonna have any drama with Ruby. She doesn't have these male issues in that sense, and she's married with with complete loyalty to her husband. So women who are toxic and have these problems with men, they really resent Ruby for this, right? This really irritates them. That men, you could say, kind of flock to Ruby, not in a inappropriate way, but in a way of like, she's easygoing, she's easy to deal with, she's easy to talk to. There's no games. Ruby's not playing any games with anybody. A lot of EXJW women have serious issues with the men, and they don't understand men, and they some of them, I hate to say, may be single forever if they don't work on themselves. And I've dealt with all types, like I've dealt with a lot of different types of women in the EXJW community. Some just as friends, some even with a possible romantic interest. And I've dealt with a lot of women, and a lot of EXJW women, they have issues with men, and they haven't figured it out. So like, this is kind of why. So, and it's not their fault. So say like going back to the congregation when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, men completely dominated women. A woman could be married to a guy that's a complete moron, right? An absolute moron, but yet she was told, he's your head. Your opinion doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's the final say. He's your head, right? That psychologically will mess with a woman, especially if she's married to an absolute moron. In fact, I've known situations where there are certain sisters who wrote their husband's talks. That's a real thing. Imagine a sister married to a guy like that. He's your head, and that you got to help him write his talks because he's so much of a moron that you got to write his talks from. That's a real thing. And not only are women belittled by their husbands, but then when they go to the congregation, they're second-class citizens, right? All the men that have authority over them, right? A married woman can be counseled by two elders, two other men who are also morons. They don't know what they're talking about. She's got to listen to these two moron elders give her counsel on something that maybe they don't know nothing about. And she has to just say, yes, you're right, brother so-and-so. And even more insulting to women is, think about when women go out in service, like Pioneer Sisters, and the only brother that comes out is an 18-year-old kid, right? 18-year-old kid, but he's the only brother, so now he's bossing the women around, right? Because he's the head. So it's not women's fault, but this is the thing. For this reason, a lot of XJW women have a complex with men that they can't shake. Now, I remember one time a married woman, right? She was married and she was trying to like, she wanted me to call her on the phone about something. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I said, you know what? I'll email you, but I didn't want to talk to her on the phone. And she just kept, I need you to talk to me on the phone. I need you to hear me. Like, I'll email you. I'll email you. I'm not calling you. I didn't want to call her. So she kept pushing and pushing. Then she said, like, you're not giving me what I need. I need you to hear me on the phone. Right now, think about that. She's a married woman. She's telling me that I'm not giving her what she needs. That's your husband's job. If you feel that I'm not hearing you out, well, too bad. Go talk to your husband. I'm not your husband. I don't have to call you. But this is just an example of what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying all women, because everybody knows I really respect women. And I've said before, some of the smartest XJWs that I know are all women. So definitely not all women are like that. And Ruby certainly is not one of those people. So going back to what I'm saying is that when you have these women who are single and can't get a husband, and so they hope that Ruby's husband leaves her so that Ruby can be miserable like they're miserable, these women are really irritated that Ruby has such an easy time connecting with men. And what probably pisses them off even more is the fact of they probably see, well, Ruby is married, so Ruby doesn't even need to be able to understand men and not have an issue with that. Right. So they probably like even more irritated because it's like, why can't they have an easy time talking to men? Because they're the ones that are single, right? So they're just hating Ruby left and right. And from every angle, they hate this woman. And it pisses them off that there's no drama with men, right? And that bothers them. And then it also bothers them that Ruby has said, and she said it on my channel. One of the first things she says when I interviewed her was she said that she's healed and she's over the XJW stuff. That again pisses them off, right? That she's healed and she's done, right? So these women who are not healed, so what I'm saying is everything about Ruby pisses them off because they're jealous, they're resentful, and they're envious. Not only are they jealous, they're envious. They want Ruby to lose what she has so that Ruby could suffer like they're suffering, but they don't realize that even if Ruby is suffering, they are still suffering, right? So stop suffering and do the self work so that you don't have to suffer anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong again, but again, I used to swear that Jackie Jacks used to comment on Ruby's political show. I thought I used to see her name there. So it's like going back to the whole friend thing. I believe the term friend is very triggering. I do. I think that the Jehovah's Witness organization, the word friend was a trigger word, is one of their MK Ultra CIA programming words, friends. It's a trigger word. So they use that term friend so that you have blind trust in people in the congregation and you cut real friends off and you only are friends with Jehovah's friends. And all you have to do is hear the term friends, oh, they're your friends. It's triggering. It's brainwashing. Now, this is just my opinion too, right? I do have strong opinions, but it's just my opinion, so I'm not saying it's a fact. But I think that when XJWs use this term friends and friends, I think it's carrying over the same brainwashing and trigger words as we heard when we were JWs. And this is the problem with the XJW community, why it's so toxic, is because you have a lot of people like Jackie Jacks that are going to hate on Ruby and wish bad on her just because she's jealous. Well, you know what? That's not a friend. And I'm not saying that Jackie Jacks claims to be Ruby's friend, but I do know that some of the other people that also attack Ruby, they also claim, well, you're my friend. You're my friend. We're friends. I thought we were friends. So that's the thing. These people that are like snakes that will talk trash and wish bad on you and they're like, oh, they're XJWs. These people are not your friends. And this is what I'm saying. So, and again, I just want to say again one more time, Jackie Jacks asked for it, right? This is what she said. after she came on my channel, she already knows I'm not Jerry Springer. I've talked before. I don't like drama on my channel. She came on. She talked all this trash about Ruby. It had nothing to do with the actual video. And then ends her comment with basically saying, hey, if this comment offends you, middle finger to you, right? It's real and unfiltered. Sugarcoating is for wussies, right? So I'm not even mad at Jackie Jax, and I hope she doesn't stop watching my channel. But she asked for it. I only did what she did to Ruby. She did not sugarcoat what she had to say about Ruby, and I wasn't going to sugarcoat what I said about her coming on and attacking one of my guests. And my main reason for bringing this out is because I've had the same type of thing happen where people who you think are your friends because they're commenting on your videos and this and that, and they act like, oh, you're my friend. And then you say or do something they don't like, they turn on you, or they get jealous of you. They get jealous and they want to pull you down just because they're jealous of you, right? So, and one more thing I just want to say to Jackie Jax, if you're watching this, is why don't you again put up your real name on YouTube, show your face, and you try doing a YouTube channel and you see if the trolls don't come out and take notes on every single thing you say and do and attack you.